Hi, my name is Lena Góra. I'm the producer, writer, actress, casting director, costume designer, and makeup artist of a movie called Roving Woman, which you just got to see, or you're about to watch, and that makes me so happy.
People say a roving woman is likely not to be better than she ought to be. So when I stray away from where I got to be, someone always takes me home.
This film is dedicated to Connie Converse, as I'm sure you know. She was someone who was shown to me by a friend right when I lost everything I had. I broke up with my ex-boyfriend, or rather he had broken up with me. I lived in LA then, and I lost a place to live, and because I lived with him, and sort of an idea of what my future will look like. And I went on a little trip to Lake Arrowhead and stayed there with some friends, and it was really sad and really scared of being alone and really scared of losing what I called home, petrified. And one evening we were drinking whiskey on a porch, and a friend of mine asked me if I've heard this song called Playboy of the Western World by Connie Converse, and I said, no, who is she? And he tells me, well, she was this woman, first American singer-songwriter. It's sort of a prequel to Bob Dylan. She could not fit in society at all. She couldn't fit in this race for fame and for success and everything that it represents, that she had packed all her belongings in a car and took off and was never heard from since. And she has not been found until today. I love Connie Converse so much, and I feel that I owe her that I'm sitting here. I hope she's still alive. We left one seat for her at our premiere at Tribeca, hoping she may come, but she didn't come. I never realized this growing up with artist parents when we moved from place to place all the time, that I was lucky, or that this path of life on the road is an amazing one. I was rather pissed. I then started living on my own since I was 16 and moved to London and New York and LA, and on the road, and alone on the road a lot. So I guess it was natural for me to be drawn to this genre when I realized that one exists. Realizing that some amazing filmmakers like Wim Wenders not only make road films, but Wim's production company is called Road Movies. So I'm just so happy that my life led me to a place in which I could explore road films. Sarah is on the road. Similarly to me, she's escaping from LA filled with wannabe famous, success-obsessed people. Society that she doesn't really understand, in the quest of finding misfits that she will belong to, or rather just not having to speak to people she doesn't, or finding peace on her own, maybe. So not only Sarah, Wim, and myself like road films, you know, David Lynch, The Straight Story, Gus Van Sant, so many incredible filmmakers have been exploring this genre, so I guess it's my favorite one.
Come on! I want to get in! Come on, let's play. Let's just play.
I find this really fascinating. It's something that came to us later on after we shot all the principal photography, and we started to think about what we're really doing. And turns out that some of my favorite films, and some of, I'd say, greatest films of all time, happened because of the crash of the European eye looking at the American roads, American cities. So Herzog made a movie called Stroszek. Milos Forman made a movie called Taking Off. Wim Wenders' first film in America, Alice in the Cities, 29 Palms by Dumont, and Roving Woman by Michał Chmielewski, are films that all had been the first film of a European filmmaker that they shot in America, followed then often by many sort of more Americanized movies of those filmmakers. And somehow that first one, your first meeting with America, fascinates me. this is what happened to me when I moved there and when I was driving my car and exploring the roads and exploring the cities of America, because I've done that a lot. I traveled from Texas to Arizona through where, most places I guess I drove by or drove through. I was blown away. America is so fascinating. It's so wild and free and so diverse. So diverse that you won't find two of the same things in an hour of driving or people.
This is the song I wrote for you before I ever saw you.
My ultimate crush, a real cowboy, an incredible artist. He's like this country song that you love, and can't stop playing in your head. That's what John Hawkes is to me. I'm so happy to call him my friend. And I'm so happy to call him a collaborator, and I'm so happy he decided to make this film and trust me to do it, even though he's very picky about films he makes. He hasn't made a film in many, many years prior to saying yes to Roving Woman, and we were shooting during pandemic, and so nothing was making it easier. He became such a collaborator. He made music for this movie. The whole concept of Mimi and this woman who this man wishes existed, but she doesn't, and whom he loves, came from his song, which he wrote for nobody. And nobody before me, and then this film, heard before, called This Is a Song I Wrote For You, in which he says, "This is the song I wrote for you before I ever met you, just in case you came around," which is crazy. So when I asked him, and with me, how we kept asking him whether he would be in our film, he thought maybe he'll just make some songs for us. And he said that he had this song that he wrote for nobody, and maybe he'll play it for me, because maybe he actually wrote it for me. And then we realized he didn't wrote it for me, he wrote it for Mimi. And that's so beautiful. And he made this CD I have, I don't know if you can see, called For Mimi, which is the exact one that we have in the film, but he created 66 of those. This one is 2 of 66. And he sent them, John Hawkes, and he sent them across from LA to New York for our Tribeca premiere. And we gave them to some people. I still have this one. John Hawkes, what an artist, man. So I spent some time alone in the car on the desert as we were shooting, especially when we had gaps in shooting. We had a month off in between some scenes, and it was really hard for me to go back to reality and have like an oat milk latte at the Beechwood Canyon store and just live my, life, and then go back to the desert and be Sarah again. And so some of this time I stayed there in the desert with nothing but the car and some money, but didn't have my phone. And so what was really crazy for me was that what I thought I'll be afraid of when spending this time on the desert was very different to what it really was. And eventually I realized that what I'm most afraid of isn't a scarecrow or a crazy person, but is that I'm sort of invisible and no one's even thinking about where I am. Because at this point really no one really knew, even my other co-producers and Michał, the director, they didn't know where I was. We were just talking that I'm going to meet them in the morning at 8 a.m. on Friday by this road. And up until then, they wouldn't know where I was. And so through this experience, a lot of the script was written. Because if I didn't live this, I wouldn't realize the real story behind this study of being alone, which is that you first have to rid yourself of this relation you have with someone who follows you or who knows where you are. And when Sarah comes to meet Milloy at the end, she talks to him about this. And so the last scene is all about what really came to me when I spent that time alone on the street. It was so exciting for me to play with an actor like John Hawkes, so I asked Michał, the director, to keep us separate until he calls action. So we don't, see each other having coffee or whatever. I don't see when he arrives on set, and we're in two separate places. And then I really drive up there as Sarah and meet Gregory and not John. So it was one of the most exciting acting moments for me. I just remember arriving up there, and I could hear that John had arrived in his car, in his truck parked somewhere, and that he's outside behind some hangars smoking at this film ranch that we were shooting that scene in Joshua Tree. And I remember being so stressed for this moment, just like Sarah would be with Gregory. We shot the scene on 2 cameras, so all the reactions are real. When I'm walking up to John's character, Gregory, and when he hears me walking up, we're filmed from 2 sides, and so it's all happening in real time. I think that's really special because our reactions are fully real to each other. The rest of the scene is shot a little later, but the very beginning, the first meeting of Gregory and Sarah happened for real as we see it.
There's the car.
We didn't have a script. Up until today, there isn't a real script to Roving Woman. We had bullet points of places that Sarah should explore in order to push the story forward. We knew that she will be looking for John's character, Gregory Milloy. We knew that she's stealing his car, and that exploring the insides of the car, she will fall in love with him and she will want to meet him. But we didn't even know that John Hawkes would play in our film until we shot the last scene. So we actually have an alternative ending in which Sarah doesn't meet Gregory. So the whole time I didn't know if I will ever find him. So we really let the universe write this film with us. A lot of the things happen with the use of hidden cameras. Scenes that were shot with people that were not aware of shooting the scene, and just after we cut, the production car was driving behind them and asking them for permissions, Sarah was going somewhere and met people on her way, and this really happened to me. I was Sarah for the time of shooting this film, and so it was more like a psychedelic experience really than a regular film. The scene in which I call my mom, it was actually really crazy because I looked like Sarah did. I looked like I'm homeless. And so people were reacting to me very differently than they would be to Lena. If I was asking somebody I didn't know on the street to use their cell phone, they would give it to me. And we kept shooting the scene and nobody wanted to lend me their phone, which was really sad when you think about it. So she was the first person that said yes. And when you watch the film, you see that I tell her that I'll give her my car keys to hold. So that's probably the only reason. And, I was barefoot and looked like I did. The camera was set on the passenger seat, hidden under a blanket, and a lot of Catholic books that we found in the desert. So it looked like I'm maybe like a weird salesman of Catholic books to people, which is not part of the film. So that might have made them even more weirded out about me. And Michał, the director, and Łukasz, our camera operator, were hiding on the back seat. So it just looked like it's just me. So I came up to this lady and I asked her if I can borrow her phone, and she gave it to me. And then she heard this whole conversation that I'm having with my mom, in which I clearly can't come back home and clearly have nowhere to go. And when I give her back the keys, her reaction was priceless. I mean, you wouldn't write that thing. She goes, "Have a nice day." So crazy. Another scene that happened for real, which is funny too, is when Sarah's looking for Gregory's house, and she pulls up to one of the yards of a little house in the middle of nowhere, and this man comes out with his son, and he has a T-shirt on which it says "dog lover" with like a little picture of a little dog, and he almost shoots me. He was like so close to pull up his gun and shoot me because I drove it up there, and Sarah just goes like, "I'm so glad he didn't shoot me." So this happened for real as well. Sarah is a dog. Sarah was so faithful to her owner that when the owner kicks her on the street, she's so clueless of what to do, but somehow finds this bravery to go into the world. You know, dogs are rid of ego. They're simple. They follow their intuition. They're silly. They're awkward. They're so funny. They're dirty. Sarah finds all her best friends and dogs that she meets on her way. First, as she digs in Gregory's car and finds this little guy. Can you see? Now we're together. There are many conversations and moments, including dogs, in this film. Also, when Sarah jumps in the pool, she swims doggy style because she's a dog. And this is Venom, who is from Palmdale. And Palmdale is that first step where Brian drops Sarah off. This is not really a dog, I think she's more a dragon, but she's been with us the whole time, 14 years with me. But we had a scene in which we wanted Sarah to pick up Venom at some point on the desert road, and they become friends, but she was too expensive and we couldn't speak to her agent, and she just ended up being our best friend. She's also a stoner and she loves marijuana. She's very stoned.
Just go away. Go away.
Thank you.
Just go away.